Got a relatively new knife model in from Civivi. This is the Stormridge. This is a Robert Terzuola designed fixed blade. And these are reasonably priced. They're, in the vicinity of $90. And I got this thing because I was interested in checking it out. I'm a big fan of Robert Terzuola. You can check out my other videos on him. I'll put a little card up here so you can see some other recent models I've reviewed or at least looked at. The other reason I wanted to check this out was to see how it compared with the Civivi Tamashii, which is really pretty similar. Similar price, similar size, similar features, same designer. So let's have a look and we'll do that comparison. Here is the Tamashii. Okay. And here is the Stormridge. Okay, so we've got some swag in here, some Civivi stickers, warranty information, microfiber cleaning cloth. What's this? Little brochure. And the Tamashii came with a lanyard similar to this, actually identical to this, which I have removed. And then we've got a Kydex sheath. I guess this is sealed. Yeah, it's sealed, so I'll go ahead and cut it open. And the knife itself. One difference between these two samples that's going to be evident is that one has a micarta handle and the other has a G10 handle, but you can get either knife with either G10 or micarta. So the difference in handle material is not what separates these two knives. Interestingly, the Tamashii has Robert Terzuola's maker's mark on it, but the Stormridge does not. It just says Civivi. They both say Civivi. Okay. So we've got a full flat grind on the Stormridge. With no swedge. Got a high flat grind. It's flat, right? Yeah. High flat grind on the Tamashii with a swedge. Got some jimping up here on both of them. We've got an exposed spine on the Stormridge, whereas the spine is completely encased in G10 in the Tamashii, and a protruding spine on the Stormridge, which you could use as a striking tool, theoretically, if this lanyard was not cushioning it. A little bit more of a palm swell on the Stormridge. And we have screw together construction as opposed to pinned construction. So this could be disassembled and these scales could be swapped, whereas the scales on the Tamashii cannot. You might be able to tell from the camera view, let me move this up a little closer to make it easier, that the Tamashii has some discoloration to it. I've used this thing as a steak knife a few times, and that does not wash off now. That is patina, because D2 is not really a stainless steel. So the proteins from that steak chemically altered the sheen of that blade a little bit. Nitro V is the blade steel on the Stormridge, and it is going to be more stainless than D2. It's not going to hold an edge quite as well as D2, probably. Nitro V is similar to Sandvik 14C28N or AEBL. It's in that family of traditional ingot formed steels that have pretty good grain structure, decent edge holding ability, decent stainlessness, and that are very easy to sharpen and reasonably tough. So it's a good balanced steel. It's not going to hold an edge like a super steel, like a powder metallurgy steel, and it's not even going to hold an edge as well as D2, but the flip side of that is it's going to be easier to maintain and sharpen. The spine on the tang on the Stormridge is not only exposed, but it's a little bit proud. And I suspect that if you were working with this knife for really extended periods, that proud tang might raise some blisters. Might bother you a little bit. But for basic cutting tasks, it's not a big deal at all. Even some camp tasks and things, I think it would be fine. And ergonomically, I think it's superior to the Tamashii. Another difference between them is that the Stormridge has a sharpening choil, whereas the Tamashii does not. Both of these have kind of a straight spine, almost a upswept spine. I guess it's a little more upswept on the Tamashii than it is on the Stormridge, but basically a straight spine. And they both got a bit of belly out toward the tip, decent tip for piercing, and then a bit of almost straight edge. Well, if you were comparing these two, I suppose it would depend on what sort of application you had in mind for them. But the big difference, I think, what would make the decision for most people is whether they would rather have D2 or they'd rather have Nitro V. And I think for most people, most of the time, the answer is going to be Nitro V. Let's see. Keep track of which one goes with which sheath here. Oh yeah, it snaps in nice and tight. And that the sheath for the Stormridge has a push point here for your thumb to push off, and it's really tightly in there. It doesn't rattle or anything. So you got a place to push off of the sheath. Don't have that on the Tamashii. I mean, you can put your finger on the Kydex and push, but it doesn't have a sort of a shaped area for your thumb to push against. Tamashii is not quite as tight. Maybe that's just because it's been in and out of the sheath a few times, but it's fine. It doesn't rattle. Both of these use Civivi's T-clip, which is also designed by Robert Terzuola. And the way this thing works is you can loosen this screw and adjust this to the width of a belt. And then you can also position it in different ways for different manners of carry. And they both have, well, no. The Tamashii has a little opening to let any moisture drain out, and the Stormridge does not. So there are several subtle differences. You've got more holes around the blade on the kydex sheath of the Tamashii, whereas you only have holes on one side of the blade on the Stormridge. So that's going to change the options for how you carry it and what different positions you put it in. Yeah, there are a handful of differences that would potentially matter to some users. But I still think the biggest difference between these two is just going to be the blade steel. And it's a compromise between whether or not you want a little bit longer edge holding with the D2, or if you want stainlessness and ease of maintenance with the Nitro V. I'm going to take one of these with me on a camp out soon, and I think it's going to be the Stormridge. All right, well, this is not a review. I may do a review of the Stormridge after I've put it through some paces, but it's a first look and a brief comparison between two similar knives from Civivi. Thanks. Like my videos and subscribe to the channel. You'll see lots more knives. Thanks. Bye.